On this episode of On Two Wheels, strafing the curvy canyon roads of SoCal and letting it hang in Sepang. This is a road and track test of the all-new ZX10R. Well, we finally have a new ZX10R. After all, Yamaha kind of kicked everyone's ass last year with that R1. And you know what? No one is more aware of that than Kawasaki. They haven't updated their superbike since 2011. But Kawasaki's got a new Ninja for 2016, and they say it's gonna put them back on top. They're claiming a lot of improvements for this new bike, and I cannot wait to ride it on the racetrack. But right now, I got a plane to catch. Hit it.
That means you're stuck with me. And, wouldn't you know it, a 2016 ZX10.
This new bike has a lot going on, and we're not just talking about those World Superbike graphics. There's an ultra-sophisticated gas-charged fork, massive Brembo brakes, an updated engine and frame, quick shifter, a 5-axis IMU, and all new electronics. Impressive stuff, yeah, but how is it to actually ride?
So, first impressions of the new 2016 ZX10. You might think it looks familiar, and it is familiar, but they have changed a lot of stuff on this bike. The first thing that's noticeable, the seat height. They've raised it almost an inch, and the pegs have come up also, and it feels much taller in the back, whereas the old ZX10 felt kind of slung out. If you compare it to, say, a BMW S1000RR, that bike has a real narrow seat, but it's very cushy and low in the rear. Whereas Yamaha's R1 has a really wide, stiff seat that's very tall. The Kawasaki's kind of in the middle. It's comfortable enough to ride on the street, but you feel like you'd be in command if you were on a racetrack. Another thing that seems familiar from the old ZX10 is the really tall gearing. Now, lots of superbikes have tall gearing these days, so it's not really that big a deal, but because the ZX10 doesn't make class-leading horsepower, you gotta rev it up to like 9,000 RPM before anything happens, even with the new lighter engine internals for 2016. When you do rev it up though, there's a sweet quick shifter, and I have to say, it might not be the smoothest quick shifter on the market, and it does not have the auto blip downshift like Ducati and BMW have, but it's a really nice feature that Kawasaki's added, and it's a lot of fun to use. One of the big ticket items on this new ZX10 are these big Brembo brakes, 330 millimeters, that's up 20 millimeters from the Tokiko system last year. They work really well, we have no complaints, but considering it was such an upgrade, it's hardly noticeable. I think it says a lot about the old Tokiko system that the other bike had. Another thing that's all new in 2016 for the ZX10 is ride-by-wire throttle, which debuted on the H2R last year. It seems like Kawasaki's having a little bit of a struggle getting away from throttle cables, if I'm honest. It's kind of herky-jerky. In the twisties, when you're on the throttle, off the throttle, and then back on the throttle, it's difficult to modulate no matter which of the 3 power modes you're in, and that's kind of a bummer. The ride-by-wire throttle might not be perfect, but Kawasaki did do a good job on some other things. The mirrors, for one, are really nice. They actually show what's behind you, which is more than can be said for some other superbikes. Also, the new styling. The new fairing in the front is much sleeker, and the tail is also much better looking. There's no two ways about it. It's totally awesome. It reminds us of the World Superbike, which is a great looking motorcycle.
So, that's the ZX10 as a street bike, where frankly almost everyone will ride it anyway. But the thing about superbikes is that you can't really experiment with the full potential of the machine here on the street. And this wouldn't be an On Two Wheels episode unless we experimented with the full potential. For that, we're gonna need to go big.
And it doesn't get much bigger than the Sepang circuit in Malaysia, which is where I get to push the new Ninja to its limits. For the official introduction of the ZX10R, Kawasaki flew journalists all the way to Malaysia, where we had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rip around the Sepang International Circuit. Sepang is set right in the jungle. The track is 4.4 miles long with 15 turns and 2 half-mile straightaways. This is Superbike heaven.
Here we are, testing this bike on the same track that Jonathan Ray won in as part of his 2015 championship season.
I've turned a lot of laps on the previous Ninja, and right away it was obvious that this new bike handles much better. It's both quicker to turn and a lot easier to flick from side to side. The ZX10 has always felt great at corner entry, and with the new gas charge fork, it's even better than before. But one thing that's not noticeably better are the brakes.
I don't know, Brembo's made a change to a more progressive, more user-friendly setup that frankly, I'm not super fond of. I want to know that I've got way more brakes than I need, as opposed to pulling the lever and thinking, hey, I could use a little more.
The Ninja is rocking far more advanced electronics for 2016, and I was definitely happy to have wheelie control while charging out of Sepang's uphill turn 4. For the most part though, the bike didn't feel very strong, especially coming off of slower corners. And Sepang has 5 first gear corners.
I gotta say, it doesn't feel any faster. It's actually pretty soft off the bottom. Does have a nice top end rush though.
On the flip side, the quick shifter works great at the track, and that's a good thing because those straightaways are long. Finally, the new 5-axis IMU informs all the rider aids, including traction control, but the TC isn't completely consistent. I got kicked out of the seat a few times when the rear tire lit up, and with this level of electronics, that just shouldn't be able to happen.
Yeah, so 10,000 miles is a long way to fly to turn 30 laps. But for a world-class superbike like the ZX10, I can't think of a better place to test than Sepang. Now I just gotta get back to the States to see what Zach thought of this thing on the street.
Ari Henning made it back just in time for the outro for you people from Southeast Asia. I have to say, riding a new bike on a MotoGP track, I'm quite jealous.
It's kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Brand new superbike on one of the most badass tracks in the MotoGP calendar. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What about on the street? I mean, that was on the track. That's a very unique environment, but on the street, totally different environment. What was it like out there?
Yeah, they definitely improved it. It's definitely better. I think the suspension's better. The brakes are not better, oddly. I thought that was weird.
Even though they're massive and they're Brembo?
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to refinement, I mean, it doesn't have like the cool dash like an R1 or a 1299 with LCD business. I don't know, it's kind of better than it was, but the bar these days
set very, very high.
Very high. So Kawasaki improved the bike, and we should say, you're not gonna have to bleed so much green either. They did not spike the price. Still around 15 grand for this bike, even though they added all the technology and they made improvements to the chassis.
Yeah, they've done a good job. So rest assured that we are going to take the new ZX10 and pull it together with all the other superbikes out there. We're going to go to the racetrack, we are going to burn a lot of gas, we're going to smoke a lot of tires, and we're going to figure out which one is the best superbike.
Because you guys need to know, and we care about you.
And that's a lot of fun.
And it's fun, and we're curious.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if you have questions about ZX10 or comments in general, please post them below, and we will get back to you as soon as we can.
All right, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned because we got a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss out on any of the action.
Sweet action!
So people are going to comment, they're going to be like, you guys are freaking idiots. Kawasaki won World Superbike in 2015. You don't know anything, it's clearly the best bike in the world. They share a lot of DNA.
Not the same as a World Superbike.
I mean, I know the World Superbike has like the cool headlight stickers and stuff. That's because they're trying to fool you.
This is a very important distinction to make. The bikes that you purchase are not the same as World Superbikes. And it is amazing that Kawasaki won the World Superbike Championship. They should be applauded for that. Not the same motorcycle, not the same machine.
It's cool, man. You a good little bike. I think that's all you're going to get out of this.